Here we go. Tuesday, March 10th. It's a beautiful day. Hopefully you guys got out and enjoyed some fresh sunshine yesterday. Blah, 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 blah. It was a beautiful day. And well, I guess we'll have snow tomorrow, was what I was told. So hopefully you enjoyed it yesterday. All right, this morning, here's the kind of gist of it. I'm going to share you part two of the vision speech, but the way you need to be thinking about it, it's the data that should be driving your behaviors. It's the data that should be driving your behaviors because it's basically the data that is telling us what you need to be doing in order to attract the business you desire. Okay. Got a TV on. We'll get it going. Okay, here we go. Mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives. Want to highlight one thing. So for when we have ladies who have babies, we give them 12 weeks off. And yesterday, Lindsay Vranick just came back after a maternity leave. And so we are incredibly grateful to have Lindsay back in our environment. For those of you who have yet to meet Lindsay or have yet to interact with her, Lindsay is our Director of Technology and Marketing and does a lot to provide services to our group internally. And so she's been gone for the last 12 weeks, and we're excited to have you back. Welcome back, Lindsay. Cool. All right. First up, we have a ton of people that support us in a variety of different ways through investments in you and beliefs in you. And what we try and do throughout the year is sprinkle them an opportunity for you to get to know them. This person has been with KW almost since day one in a variety of different ways and supporting our group, has deep relationships in our environment. And with that, Jenny Klug is going to kick us off this morning, a little bit of information around APHW.
Thanks for having me this morning. My name is Jenny Klug. I'm with America's Preferred Home Warranty, for those of you who do not know me. And just touching on a couple things here. A new program we have, it is our concierge/welcome call. You are working with a seller, talking about our warranty, and they decide to do it at listing. You as the agent can set up a 10-minute call with someone at our office in Michigan, and they go over the benefits for the seller, what they get at listing, because they actually get $1,000 of free coverage during the listing period, and some other benefits. And now we want to take it off of you and put it on us so they really understand their warranty and use it. Same with the buyer. You guys do have a buyer that's interested in the warranty. You can now set up a 10-minute call with someone in our office in Michigan, and they go over the benefits of the warranty for the buyer. And I am going to show a QR code in 2 slides. I would like you to take a picture of that. Save it to your phone because you can set up the call right from your phone. And you can do it when you order the warranty or up to the closing table. Set up this call with them, 10 minutes. They go over their warranty. We actually call them back 3 more times throughout the year. And see how they're doing. You just had that claim. How did it go? We know your agent, Andy Stillman's always looking for referrals. So do you know anybody looking to buy or sell right now? So when we've actually had success in getting referrals because we're touching them throughout the year, reminding them about you. So this is really a great program. Concierge/welcome call, definitely something that we want to do for you guys, and it takes it off of you and puts it on us. Do I just arrow? Okay, I want to tell you guys our numbers from last year. So it's pretty cool. 2025 with APHW, we paid over $43,000 in claims to Keller Williams homeowners. And 119 claims paid. Total warranties ordered last year, 240. I'm hoping to double that this year. They are coming back in force. I'm having a lot of agents reach out to me for the listing warranties, getting it on. And what that is you just order it at listing or by the time before there's a buyer, they can order the warranty and add it, and they get some benefits. I have free marketing supplies for you guys, sign writers, table tents, all of that free. Let me know, and I can get those to you. Martha Ola was the #1. She had the most homeowners that had claims that were paid with us. Peter Gosman was right up there, as well as Jackie, Lori Menzel, Lee Bird, and you can see the warranties working. Something new we're going to introduce later this year that I'm going to try to reach out to you guys about is now we actually have a consultation call. So if you're having someone you're talking to at listing or as a buyer, hey, I don't want to explain the warranty to you. I want you to talk to someone at my company in our partner, APHW in Michigan. Let's set up a 10-minute call. They're going to tell you the listing benefits. They're going to tell you the benefits for the buyer, and you can decide if you want it or not. We're taking it off of you and putting it on us because who knows the warranty better than us, especially my team in Michigan. So that's something if you're interested in, I can get you the link for that as well. And then the last page, little technology. All right, if you have your phones, take a picture of this QR code, save it to your phone. Again, this is where you can book a meeting for your homeowner. And we talk to them about the benefits of their warranty, how to file a claim, answer any questions I might have, and take it off of you. So I'm looking forward to a great 2026 with you guys. Please reach out to me. Yes, Jay.
We do sale inspections with all of our sellers. If they operate home warranty first, then do a pre-sale inspection, if issues come up, they cover it.
We will cover up to 1,000. There are specific items for the seller. Electrical, plumbing are one of two of them that are big that maybe they don't know about. That we will cover up to $1,000 for the seller. You order it before the pre-listing warrant inspection, and they can file a claim. Yes, and we can have that call with them too, so they know how to do it. And if something shows up on inspection, we will cover up to $1,000 for covered items. Yes. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah. All right, two things real quick, just to touch on warranties. Not the sexiest of topics, but we're going to make them sexy to make you think about them. Okay. Two things. APHW, the client chooses their contractor. When the client feels like they're in control, there's a lot more in terms of service that they feel. Two, I was just looking at the math, 119, 118 warranties paid out of 240 warranties ordered. It's effectively 50% of the overall clients have utilized the service. The ROI on that, on a couple $100 policy, when you realize the average claim at 43,000, you can do the math. It's a pretty good ROI in terms of an insurance policy. There's a reason why you buy insurance. Just something to think about.
It's over $5 for $25 of coverage. Where can you get that?
There you go.
Bucks for 25,000. Yeah.
So just a little highlight for you. All right. In the month of February, we had an incredible group of people who capped, and there were so many people who capped in the month of February, I had to split it up over multiple meetings. So here is part one of our February cappers. If you capped in February, don't worry. We didn't forget you. We just are spreading it out a bit. First up, this is an incredible individual who came to us right out of college, graduated UWM, jumped onto a team with her dad, then realized that she wanted to go and learn from somebody else, and has been a huge support network for Dusty and his team. Congrats to Morgan Young for capping in the month of February. Next up, this is an individual we highlighted as the North Shore Rookie of the Year. I met this person when he was a young student at Milwaukee Excellence Academy. He showed up to FTC. Admittedly, I'm always skeptical when people jump from high school into this business because it's a tough business to get into as a young person, and they've absolutely killed it. Congrats to Donovan Smith for capping in the month of February. Next up, this is an individual, you talk about transforming lives and the impact this individual has had in terms of transforming other people's lives and growing those that are around him. Congrats to Jay Schmidt for capping in the month of February. One of those lives he's transformed is sitting in the room today. An incredible energy, always super spunky. The energy is infectious. Congrats to Jackie Rubin for capping in the month of February. Next up, down in South Shore, another incredible energy. She is be careful, or here's the forewarning. If she grabs the mic at karaoke, look out. As we learned down in Atlanta, she's a ton of fun. She's doing this business with her brother. She's absolutely killing it. Congrats to Maggie Rattino for capping in the month of February. Next up, an incredible individual, really just goes about the business the right way in terms of building their business brick by brick, is quiet about her success, but in a way that is just confident. Quiet confidence is the way I would describe it. Congrats to Damaris for capping in the month of February. All right, three more. A family member. I don't say a lot about family members for obvious reasons. The standard is the standard. Congrats to Martha Ola for capping in the month of February. All right, next up, this person decided to open a bookstore over in Tosa and is doing an incredible thing with a really passion project for her, but also selling an incredible book of real estate. Congrats to Natasha Myhre for capping in the month of February. And then last up for today, out in Lake Country, an incredible individual who's been with KW since inception of her career in the residential real estate space, has done a variety of different things in deciding, or also including, she decided to move to Chattanooga, Tennessee to sell real estate for a little bit, and then came back and reignited her career in southeastern Wisconsin, is absolutely killing it. Congrats to Ashley Myhre for capping in the month of February. All right. With that, we'll jump into a few highlights for you from an educational event standpoint. Last week, we highlighted the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I just wanted to highlight again, last week's conversation was all around the growth-driven operations framework. The number one enemy of scale is the inability to give up control. How do you help give up control is by creating an operations framework that creates efficiencies to give you back time in your business. An exceptional listen for you guys to check out this week. As a reminder, here's the March training calendar. Lots of things coming up as it relates to listings in the month of March. And then also just wanted to make sure we highlighted, due to spring breaks and Easter schedules, we will not be having a team meeting on Tuesday the 31st, so just be planning ahead. As a reminder, throughout the month of March on Thursdays at 11 a.m. at the Innovation Office Live and also via Google Meet, we're hosting the workshop around the tech-powered agent. How do you create efficiencies leveraging digital marketing, AI, and so many other different tools that are available to us now in the workplace? Check that out on Thursdays at 11. Mandy Grimal, another one of our incredible partners in the vendor program, will be hosting a lunch and learn this week, Wednesday, tomorrow at 11 a.m. in the Innovation Office to learn all about insurance. I've mentioned insurance before, and I will show you some data as to why you need to be paying attention to insurance. Check it out with Mandy in the Innovation Office tomorrow at 11. And then following Kluger's presentation this morning around APHW, she's also hosting a luncheon or a Zoom and Learn tomorrow at 11 as well, if you want to learn more about the home warranties. And then here is our PC schedule forthcoming in the month of March for those within the PC program. All right. Admiral Ashley, these guys have MLS questions and camera reminders. What do these guys need to know?
Good morning. We just have a few things that we've seen a lot, come across a lot on the helpline, and then also in file review that we just want to bring to your attention. The first is how to submit a cancellation and mutual release. A while back, this process changed a little bit. So now the process is to make sure you have everything that you need uploaded up to that point in command to make sure that the file's as complete as possible. And then you'll want to put the CAMR in the agent hub. So there's a tab on the agent hub with the miscellaneous forms and excess earnest money that says CAMR request. You'll put that in there and that alerts the team that there is a cancellation that needs to be processed. So if you don't do that step, they don't know that it's there. A couple other things that we weren't sure a lot of people were privy to is how you can add how the client would like the earnest money to be dispersed. So if it's submitted via trust funds, it can be dispersed via trust funds. You can also have it printed for office pickup or mailed, which is kind of the default here. With mail being less desirable these days, it would probably be best just to write in like pickup at Wauwatosa office or something along those lines so that we know that we need to print a check and have it available at X office. Or if they prefer to just have it dispersed via trust funds, you can also write that in there. Again, that has to be submitted via trust funds in order to get it back that way. So in order for a cancellation to be in full force, it has to be signed by all parties before the acceptance date, just like an offer or anything else. So if everybody's not able to sign by that date, you would either need to have everybody cross out and change and initial the date, or simply do a completely new cancellation and have everybody sign by the date that it's due. Again, all paperwork has to be in the opportunity along with the earnest money receipt in order for us to process that. Oops. In case you missed it last week, there has been a change to the excluded properties as far as MLS is concerned. You can share written one-on-one communication via text or email, so just to one other person. You can share the address one-on-one to one other person. You can share it in our private Facebook groups. You can share pictures, but it cannot be done in mass consumption. So you cannot send out a mass email, even if it's like a MailChimp where it's going to one party at a time. Things like that cannot be used. And it cannot be publicly searchable. So like if you made a landing page for it, you can't Google it and find it. That you have to make sure that that's not what the ability of that landing page. If it ends up going downstream, what they're calling it, for any reason, then the agent and or the brokerage could be held liable. So it's really just one-on-one communications. We get a lot of MLS tech questions, and while we do know a lot, tech and MLS is not necessarily our forte. So we wanted to remind you that they do have a tech line that you can. Okay. Sorry. The slide changed. Okay, so there's a tech line that you can call. It's 414-778-5400. You choose option 1.
Yeah.
That's for if you have like a listing error, if you have any issues with aligned showings, it's not showing up in the right city. All of those things are things that are better helped via MLS. So we just wanted to remind you that that is available to you. And then lastly, our helpline is open always. The slide is not in here for some reason, but you can call or text that anytime. So texting can sometimes be easier because then we kind of know what you're looking for, and then we can kind of divide and conquer. So thanks.
Sweet.
If you haven't used it yet, it's really responsive and quick and lead on that.
Sweet. Thanks, Admiral. Couple highlights for you tomorrow. There's a Metro MLS board meeting. Stay tuned. I wasn't invited. I tried to get invited. I asked for the bylaws. I wasn't sent the bylaws, so more to come. But we're working on it. Here's the other thing is, and I don't, because I'm not in the room, I can only read between the lines. As it relates to this change regarding excludeds, I think that the MLS is a little trepidatious in terms of what they are communicating in fear of antitrust lawsuits. And so the rules of engagement might be changing, or the tectonic plates beneath our feet might be moving, and we don't know about it, which is why we're having to stay so close to what is happening over there without yet being in the room of how we can effectively make it an impact on change. More to come on that, but just know that we're trying to give you real-time updates, and there's a board meeting tomorrow, which I'll be sure to find out what's going on. Yes. Well, we do have 2 people on the GMAR board that we are helping push through agenda as well. So a lot going on as it relates to that, but trying to keep you up to date. Cool. All right. Quick thing for you. I just wanted to highlight something that Courtney talked about last week. If you guys haven't been using the app, I think you're more of a on the outside looking in, because we know that we've answered 20,000 unique questions through the AI-powered KW Milwaukee app. And the compliance questions that are being asked and the speed and immediacy of the answers that you are receiving is almost instantaneous. Last week, we highlighted how through the app you can order marketing concierge resources. Now that Lindsay's back, we're excited to continue to include more of those offerings. But within the resources section within the app, there's a lot that can be done to help enhance your experience with us from speed and immediacy. Just wanted to highlight that from an app perspective. All right, so here we go. here we go. I'm going to share with you part 2 of the vision speech, okay? And part 2 of the vision speech is the data behind the things that should be driving your behaviors, okay? It's the data that is driving your behaviors. Now, here's a few reminders for you as we start. When in doubt, zoom out. When in doubt, zoom out. What do I mean by that? Look at the historical perspective and context and provide that context to your clients. When in doubt, zoom out. If you're not providing perspective and being the economist of choice for your clients, they will get their information with a myopic view of the world. You need to be the voice of reason in your market to help people navigate complexities because people want the ability to predict the future. Your job is to provide them the information to give them predictable and stable information so they can make good decisions as it relates to their assets. Make sense? Unpredictability creates uncertainty, and unpredictability with uncertainty creates inaction. You desire your clients to take action. You have to be the economist of choice to create predictability. Okay? So, as a reminder, there are 3 things that matter to real estate. It's the price of real estate, it's the cost of money, and it's employment. Very simplistically, when you can create predictability around the price of real estate, how they can acquire the cost of money, and what people's employment status or what's going on in the macro economy, good things will happen where action will be taken. Okay. And I wanted to just highlight a few things for you as a reminder from last week. We lost 33% of units in 2 years. The floor was defined by who had to move. It didn't get progressively better, and yet we know within cycles only last 3 to 4 years before the tide starts rising. Okay? Home prices, they never go to zero. You might be buying at the top of the moment, but never at the top of the market. And most importantly, when you look at the fact that we are only 7.4% above the historical trend line of 4% appreciation, the assets are not overvalued. Okay? The asset is not overvalued. And then when you look at total market volume, if you feel like you've been working hard, you have, because the market has never been more competitive, because we didn't see the attrition that we had seen in other markets due to high average per sale price of the appreciation we've seen over the last several years. And inventory was the lowest it had ever been in the bottom of 2021, and we are climbing out of that. I'll help you explain as to why we've been climbing out of that for actually almost a decade. Rates, we're basically sitting right around the historical average rate from 1990 to 2023, sitting right around 6%. And if you're paying attention to the local rate as of late, it's below 6% as of current. So now I want to jump into a few of the datas that should be driving your behaviors. Data that should be driving your behaviors. When you look at it on a sides per agent, a couple things to point out. Historical average on a sides per agent or deals per agent is 9.5 going back in the history of time. Okay. Last year in 2025, the average agent in the US did 5.4 units. The average agent did 5.4 units. We know within our environment in southeastern Wisconsin, the average agent was 5.5. So it was very, our local average mimicked the national average. And within the KW organization, the average agent did 12 deals. So it was almost twice that, more than twice that of the average agent, which talks about the element of productivity. We are in a market of equal opportunity and unequal reward, because tons of agents have had or will have their best year ever, despite the industry or market that we've been feeling in. If it feels harder, it was because there wasn't the amount of attrition that we had seen in previous down cycles. When you look at it from a volume per agent perspective, again, last year, 2025, was roughly 3 million in closed volume per agent across the US. When you look at that over the history of time, it was the 3rd best volume per agent metric in the history. Okay. It was incredibly healthy, but GCI won't determine your income. How you manage your expenses will. The challenge of it was coming out of 22 and 21, did you right size your expense ratios in order to effectively right size where your income was? Most people, as the tides rose, their expenses rose, and they didn't right side coming out of the market that they're in. Something to be thinking about. Listings with price drops, here's an interesting perspective for you, okay? January is always the defining floor within the market. Okay, so if you look back in January of 24, the floor was roughly around 20% of all listings had a price drop, and then it goes up from there as the market seasonality continues. January of 25, it was 18%, and you can see the floor there and where it went from there. This year, it's interesting. We ended the year in December at 22%. We'll see where January comes, but effectively what you need to be thinking about, and I think part of this has to do with recency bias, is that roughly a quarter of all listings right now in the first quarter have had a price drop. It's going back to the old phrase of like, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered, like right sizing our pricing expectations on the front side, because I could show you lots of data that each incremental price reduction and the percentage it impacts in terms of someone's equity when it ultimately gets accepted can be painful. So it's making sure that we're right sizing pricing expectations going into the market, and we'll see where price fluctuations go as we get into 2026. Knowledge and skills within pricing is vital. Don't get caught chasing a number. Historically, January always sets our floor. Communicate constantly with your clients to right-size expectations. New listings inventory, very similarly, January is always kind of setting the floor for new listings for the year. In 2024, we were operating in an environment where there were 4.8 million listings, and you can see the January floor throughout the rest of the year. My point being is that we only go up from here as it relates from new listing inventory outside of the month of December. December in and of itself is its own unique situation. But you can see, as I've talked and I showed you earlier, new listing inventory is on the rise. We've seen a big unlock of people wanting to either access their equity or rates stabilizing and people in normalizing. And in 2025, we saw an increase of listings to 5.4 million. And you can see in January was the floor for the remainder of the year. Okay, it'll be interesting to see where we head in the early part of 2026, and something I'll be watching as it relates to where listings begin to spike. But I can tell you very, very early on, the data that we're seeing through the first 2 weeks of March is the spike that we were expecting to offset the softness that we saw in January. Okay, new listing home starts. Here's why we're in the inventory situation we're in. Okay, you have to understand that the blue dotted line is the historical long-term average of typically on an annualized basis, there will be about 1 million new listing inventories a year. Okay, on average. Last year, we were at 910,000 in 2025, which is good. It's getting back to a more normalized new housing starts. The reason why this is important long-term from a macro standpoint is this will help alleviate the pressures from an inventory perspective. And you guys have to understand, while it still feels like it was a long time ago, we operated in an environment for effectively almost 13 years where we were substantially below long-term housing start averages. And so we're making up for a 13-year period where the inventory compression that you're feeling right now, we are still recovering from the 2010 to 2020, effectively, let's just call it. Then you had this period of inflation coming out of 21, 22, and 23, where it kind of right-sized the market, expenses as it relates to lumber and everything else of housing starts. And so we're just navigating where, and it might take us another decade to come out of this. You just have to understand in terms of why you're feeling the compression from an inventory standpoint. And we've talked a lot about the demographics that have driven the demand elements of the factors over the last couple months. We are where we are from an inventory and appreciation perspective because we lost a decade of new home starts. Student loan debt, one of the ways in which we have to help our clients navigate the market of the moment in order to enter the market is student loan debt continues to be an issue. It's just not improving. When you look here in 2025, you can see it climbed again from 24 to 25, and it's been on a steady climb going back to the last 20 years, looking back all the way to 2005. We have to help people navigate their situations in order to enter the market because we have to become a true financial steward and fiduciary to help them navigate what this looks like and how they enter the market. Insurance, another really, really hot button topic, okay? Insurance peaked in terms of a percentage change year over year in October of 24, where on average across the US, it was 11% increase. This past year in December, it was around a 6.5% increase. But you can see outside of those spikes, the year over year increase on an insurance perspective going back the last 20 years was 2%. So we're still in a very elevated environment from an insurance perspective. For those of you that go to Florida or those of you that go to California, you can feel the impact to it. Why? Because if you look at new listing inventory in the Southeast or the Southwest, it has spiked substantially because the amount of homeowners who are not able to either afford insurance or get insurance. Insurance will continue to be a pressure point for us for, I believe, the foreseeable future. It is creeping into the affordability issues and concerns long term. Now, here's the good news for those of us that operate your businesses mainly just in southeastern Wisconsin. These were the 2023 non-renewal rates as it relates to insurance. Okay, when you look in the Southwest and Southeast, which is where we saw a lot of migration patterns coming out of post-COVID, the interesting challenge now is a lot of the migration patterns from the Northeast, Midwest, and upper Northwest into the Southeast and Southwest areas of the country is where you're starting to see these affordability pressures as it relates to insurance. Now, what do you notice about the upper Midwest? The non-renewal rates are almost non-existent. Now, okay, and I've shared this with you before, but I'll reiterate. Long-term as an asset on people's balance sheets, people should feel very, very good about it because of two major factors that a lot of people don't think about it until it impacts them. Okay. And the two factors that a lot of people don't think about and why they don't think about it until it impacts them are this. Long-term within the Midwest, including in Wisconsin, we have a low incidence rate of natural disaster and we have accessibility of fresh water. For those of you who have taken a drive up 43 and looked to the left, a little to the west, there is a massive data center that is going in. If you go down 43 to the south, there is Microsoft, I think, is investing $8 billion, I believe, in a data center down there. Why? Low incidence of natural disaster and high accessibility of fresh water. And so as you think about when clients are, it's interesting right now, I've read some research papers that talked about the reverse migration pattern and how people are now starting to go back into the Midwest and actually upper Northeast because of these factors. And I think it will continue to see we will continue to see this play out over the long term. All right, generational wealth transfer. When we talk about being a good financial steward and helping people navigate their situation, I know many of you work with clients of an older generation. And so I broke this slide down in 3 parts to help you digest it, because something you need to be thinking about is how do you help people unlock accessibility to capital or income? And it's interesting. I was at a presentation down at UWM recently, and they were challenging people as it relates to the amount of generational wealth that people are sitting on right now in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And most of that generational wealth transfers after people die. And the challenge with after people die is when their kids or siblings are in their 60s and they access that generational wealth, it's already past the point of when they might need it. And there was this research being done with it. We're looking at if generational wealth transferred before people died and how it can help the student debt ratios, how they can really help people when people need it in their 30s, 40s, and 50s instead of when they receive it in their 60s and 70s. So something to be thinking about as it relates to your fiduciary and how you can help people access it. So here, I'll help you break this down. Boomers currently control $85 trillion in assets, which is almost 50% of all the assets in the US currently today. And $19 trillion of those assets are in real estate. Okay. And boomers effectively are anybody over the age of 60. Okay. 73% of people over 55 say they want to give all or some of their estate to their children before they die. And 30% of them want to give it away while they're still alive. How we very delicately because I'm sensitive to what we do and how we tell people what they do with their money. But there is an inordinate amount of assets being held right now with those over the age of 55 and 60. And we have a real opportunity to be that economist of choice or a steward or a fiduciary in terms of helping people navigate the complexities of their financial situation and working together as a team in order to help unlock a lot of the assets that are held in real estate currently. Now I'm going to take a look at the allocation of financial investments. One of the things that I talked about in the very beginning was predictability creates stability. And when you have predictability and stability, people will take action. Interestingly enough here, when they look at the allocation of financial investments, let's take a look at real estate here for a second. And in 2025 and in 2024, almost 20% of the US world's allocation of financial investments were held in real estate. Interestingly enough, if you go back even to 2015, 16, 17, that allocation of where assets are being held, real estate has been increasing. And I actually would expect, if we look at this number 12 months from now, I actually expect this might crest the 20% mark. Here's why. In a world where there's a lot of unpredictability and instability, people tend to put assets into stable things. And one of the most stable things on earth is real estate. And so as it relates to how people always vote with their dollars, right? And if people are putting more money into real estate, should give you, from a consumer confidence, it should be signaling to you that we're in a very good industry from long-term health, because we're in an environment of unpredictability and instability as it relates to capital markets and what's going on within geopolitics. And real estate provides a safe haven for what people do with their financial investments. Again, this is more of a signaling to you in terms of why it's important. Now, some things to be thinking about. Hopefully it gives you confidence in terms of where we are, especially where we operate and how consumers are viewing the real estate asset. This is more around the data that should be driving your behaviors, okay? And helping you create clarity around what you should be thinking about as it relates to how you communicate, okay? In general terms, real estate's a contact sport. You'll see that here in a second. There's never been a better year to be the economist of choice. There's more short-term noise than what we've seen in the last 4 years. You have to be the economist of choice to tell people what's actually going on, because if all they do is wake up and read Good Morning America, and Good Morning America is talking about insurance rates in Florida and the amount of new listings in Naples or this, that, and the other, you are not actually helping advocate as to what's happening in your backyard. Be the person in the community that people go to seek answers. The power you get when you are done is you will convey knowledge that no one else in your market has. Okay? First-time home buyers, very interesting to look at. It was the lowest it has been in nearly 25 years. 21% of the market were first-time home buyers. Okay? Remember, I shared with you the data that the average median age of someone who transacted real estate last year was 56 years old. When you look at the student debt portion of it, 21 is what's driving a lot of why first-time home buyers are 21. And the average age of a first-time home buyer last year was 40 years old across the U.S., the oldest it had ever been. Okay? On average over time, typically the market has about 40% of transactions from a buyer standpoint are first-time home buyers, and we're about 50% less than that. Millennials are struggling to access housing, yet their net worth balance sheets are healthier than they've ever been. We have to provide an avenue to build wealth, which is education. Homes 2x every 10 years. Compounding time in the market is their friend in order to build their net worth. Help them navigate their financial picture in order to provide access. Help them navigate their financial picture in order to provide access. Okay, primary reasons for purchasing a home. Okay, something to be paying attention to. The incidence of desire to be closer to family and friends has risen dramatically coming out of post-COVID. If you're going back to 2010, it was about 5% of buyers' behaviors was being closer to friends and family, and now it's close to 16%, highest it has been in a long time. Something you should be thinking about. Okay, the first step in the buying process, this is not going to be any sort of surprise. Looked online for properties, contacted an agent, or looked online for information about the buying process. Okay, 74% of all searches start online or with an agent. 74%. The value of website features, I think this is incredibly telling because I think a lot of people spend a lot of time, energy, and resources in areas of waste as it relates to their online presence. What you have to understand is the useful information is people want to be educated. People want to be educated. They are coming to you online to be educated. What is not useful is they don't need to know the open house schedule, the virtual open houses, real estate news articles, industry information. They want to be educated on what is happening in their zip code, in their community, in their micro neighborhood. People are seeking information on how to track their local market, and this information needs to live online. Be an educator. It kind of goes back to my point last week. Gary Vee challenged the room as it relates to much of our content is selfish in nature, and it needs to be more educational in nature to offer value to those that are looking to us for value. Method of the home purchase, incredibly interesting as it relates to people's vote in confidence in your utilization of skills. Last year, 88% of all transactions utilized a buyer's agent. 88%. Okay. In a world of complexities, people understand and seek your expertise. They are literally telling us as much because 88% of all transactions utilize the buyer's agent. And so many of us question the role of the buyer's agent coming out of August of 22 or 23 when there was a lot of noise. 88% of transactions had a buyer agent involved. Wait till you see the listing side. Hint, hint. What do buyers want from their agent? They want to be educated. They want you to slow down enough for them to fully appreciate what you can do for them. Help them understand your service approach. And this is my personal commentary. You have to think about the sensory experience that cannot be replicated. What is the sensory experience that you are providing to your clients? How do they see it? How do they touch it? How do they smell it? How do they experience it? Okay, that cannot be replicated via AI or online. You have to enhance the sensory experience that you provide. How do buyers find their agent? Here's the deal. 76% of the time, a buyer finds their agent via referral, half the time, previously utilized 15%, or they found them 13% of the time, website or online. People who avoid contact make less money. It's factually true. Make peace with it and make contact. Contact is a contact, or networking is a contact sport. Buyer interviews, here's the truth. 74% of the time, they only interview one person. The other 16% of the time, they'll interview two people. 90% of buyers interview only two agents, and 74% of the time, they only interview one agent. If you are not first, you are last. People don't have the time or capacity to interview more than one. How do we know this? They're effectively telling us this. And home as a financial asset in terms of what do buyers believe this to be? 79% of the time, they believe it to be a good investment. Again, this is a consumer confidence index in terms of how people view real estate. Now, here's another interesting factoid, and I think a lot of this has to do with the appreciation we've seen in the last 5 years. 82% of consumers believe real estate is better or as good of an investment as stocks. And we know this. Homeowners have net worth 35x more than that of a renter. And I think you're going to continue to see that rise as appreciation continue to rise and people are gaining equity. Now, repeat and referrals. Here's the last thing as it relates to buyers. In 2025, 91% of buyers said they had a good experience with their buyer's agent and that they would definitely or probably utilize a buyer's agent again. If real estate agents just stayed in contact, they would have better odds than Vegas. It's true. 91% of the time, they used an agent 88% of all transactions, and 91% of that, they're saying they valued your services. Interestingly, it went up from 24, and yet what did you not see it do after all the hubbub and noise about buyer's agents? It didn't go down. If anything, what do they say? No news is, or all news is good news or something. Like it just, no such thing as bad news. Thank you. Buyer and seller satisfaction. 92% of buyers were satisfied with the representation and seller satisfaction was 90%. Again, consumer confidence and your fiduciary job. Now let's switch to listings. Okay. It's a game of listings. Those who control the listings control the market. That's factually true. In our market, you also make 60% more than a buyer's agent. It's where the money is. Okay. How do list sellers find their agent? Here's what you need to know. 75% of sellers found their agent because it's a communication game. Sellers found their listing agent via they were repeat, referral, or they were contacted by an agent in 75% incident rate. This is why you cannot avoid contact. Okay? It's like a football player who doesn't want to get hit. You shouldn't be on the field. Okay? Seller interviews, also fascinating. 92% of the time, sellers only interviewed 2 agents. 80% of the time, sellers only interviewed 1 agent. If you are not first, you are effectively irrelevant. People don't have time or capacity to interview more than 1. They are telling us this. And if you go on a listing appointment and you don't leave the listing appointment with a listing contract signed, you put yourself at grave risk of not winning the listing. Go in, close the sale, and ask for the business. Because the incidence rate, if you get into a competitive listing situation, the likelihood of them signing with the person who walks in the door behind you because you didn't get the listing contract is incredibly high. Okay? What sellers want from their agents? Here's what you need to know. 4 areas cover 86% of seller desires of their agent: competitive pricing, marketing that attracts attention and drives timeline, and fixes to maintain value. It's pretty simple. Articulate your value in those ways, you will win the listing. 86% of all seller desires come from those 4 areas. Sellers, repeat and referral, very similarly in 2025. It was definitely or probably would use their listing agent again was 87%. If real estate agents only stayed in contact, they would have better odds than Vegas. Method to use to sell a home. Here's also what's incredibly interesting. They sold a home using an agent or a broker. What's really interesting about this data, go back to 2006. In 2006, 84% of transactions had a listing agent. 12% of transactions were listed for sale by owner. Now, fast forward. Okay? What do you notice about trends? The trend of agents or using a broker is going up. People are voting because it's complex. Now, what's also interesting is for sale by owner. Look at the trend line. It has almost been reduced in half. From 12 to last year, the incident rate of for sale by owner was 5%. And it's not trending up, it's trending down. Again, consumers vote in terms of their confidence matrix, in terms of the incidence rate of utilizing representation. In a world of complexity, people are seeking your expertise. People are literally telling us that. So there you are. That is the data that should be driving your behaviors. Here's my synopsis to it. 1, consumers believe real estate to be an incredible asset. They are telling you. 2, they believe your expertise to be absolutely vital to helping them navigate complexities. Because you have to remember, people transact on average every 7 to 10 years. Across their lifetime, they will transact maybe 3 or 4 times on average. In 10 years, the markets can change vastly quickly. You have to be the economist of choice, speak truth into what's going on within your communities of where you desire to work. And when you do that, people are voting by utilizing your services. 91% of all transactions had a listing agent, and 88% of all buyers' transactions had a buyer's agent involved. People are voting with you. People believe in your expertise. The world is getting more complex, not less. The opportunity we have to add value is enhancing the sensory experience. And if you enhance the sensory experience, you will not be disrupted. Okay? I'm happy to share. I'll put all of this over the last 2 weeks so that you can see my notes in terms of the entire presentation, and I will send it out to you this morning. And if you have questions, hit me up. Would love to chat. Guys, it's a beautiful day in Milwaukee. Thanks for showing up. Thanks, guys.